for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant. And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend.
Welcome to Tuesday Night Golden, guys. I'm JD, your host, with my two counterparts here from the beginning, co-host, and been with us 2 years almost. Let me introduce Knights first for the first time in a while.
How's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to the best Golden Age show in the world.
Period. In the world. What's going on, DS? How we doing?
I am great. This is the end of my weekend. I'm back to work tomorrow at the day job, and I dare say this is the best Golden Age show. It is perhaps also the only Golden Age show.
Yep. If you're not first, you're last.
Two positions.
Ricky Bobby, if you're not first, you're last. So
people probably,
so it's good having you.
We're gonna have shows on the Golden Age, and then they saw this and they were like, "Forget it."
Yeah,
That's
can't compete with that.
You can't be these guys. The knowledge alone. Top of the morning to everybody as well. We have St. Patrick's Day in a few hours. I will be making. I was going to say, favorite green covers could be a topic here. You got that Buddha 14, one of my favorite covers right there.
Marvel, the first Marvel pulp.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Cap is about as green as a timely
Any
as I
cap
got.
would get. Yeah. There you
Yeah,
go.
that's a nice one.
And
Well,
you
you
said
said
something
something
about
about
rainbows, so I had to pull this up.
Well, you gotta have that. Gotta have that. Not gonna knock that book out.
Yeah, I keep thinking about selling one of mine, but the prices just keep going up and up. And
Yeah,
up, so
save them.
I'm gonna hold it.
Yeah. So, anyone want to show what they picked up this week?
I got one book.
Yeah,
I got one piece of art.
don't have any.
I got this from our good friend Lewis. Sent me this.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
So this is one of the few remaining books on my bronze horror want
Put
list.
that on the big screen. Put that on the big screen.
Pretty nice copy here. It's like an 8.0, maybe 8.5. It's pretty nice. This book's really tough to find in a nice condition. It doesn't seem like there's many of these out there. So yeah, I mentioned it on last week's show, and Lewis pulled it out, and he sent it to me. So really appreciate it for that. Yeah, awesome. I've been looking. I had a high grade of this years ago, and I sold it before I was really hardcore collecting bronze horror. And I've always sort of regretted I didn't hold on to that, and it's been tough to replace. This is a good replacement, so I'm very happy to get it. So yeah, Bernie writes in, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
Is that
One of my
the same
favorite
series of that other one you showed recently?
Yeah, that was House of Mystery 174, which is the sort of like the first issue where they start the mystery format. And so that's like sort of like a bronze horror key. It's like a number 1, even though it's number 174. That's like the start of the mystery format in House of Mystery. So that's sort of a big key. And that's a 1968 book, and I picked up a 9.0 of that. I like 9.0 and up for these bronze horror books, which is pretty tough, honestly, because these books, especially the first part of the 70s, man, they're not out there in high grades. They're really tough to find. And prices have been creeping up, and some of them are going really high. It's a category gaining more steam, and if you're interested in it, I wouldn't waste a lot of time. I would be out there looking for them, because every time I see them in auction, those books are higher each time, especially ones like this that don't come up. I bet if like a 9.4 of this came up, it would probably go over $500 at this point. Maybe even more, might even be $1,000, who knows.
Now, what's like just a decent copy you go for? Like a 5.0 or something, or a 4.0 or something?
Yeah, I mean, for something like this, you could probably get it for like $40.
I was thinking, yeah, 35, 40.
Yeah, I mean, you can find the lower grades of these, but if you want like VF and up on these early bronze horror books, they're just not out there. But you can put it on eBay. There's probably, but even still, I bet you there's probably only like 4 or 5 copies on eBay of this, and probably the highest is maybe like a 6.0, something like that. And those are affordable. You can find them, but finding like a VF and up on these books is really, really tough.
Nice. Yep. Yeah. I have every Wrightson of that run, and a lot of Nick Cardy, and some Neil Adams, and some who's the other guy? Somebody else did a cover or two in there. But I love getting the House of Mystery, House of Secrets books. It's just they're just awesome.
Yeah, and I only have a few left that are like on my really want list, and I think after that, I may have 2 or 3 more that I want. I'm probably just going to do some upgrades of stuff, and the lowest graded ones I have are
Mike Kaluta. That's
I
the
have
guy.
a House of Secrets 92 and an 80 is like my lowest grade. So I would like to upgrade that to like a 9092, but that's sort of a bigger undertaking, obviously, with that book. But yeah, I mean, people know that book's really tough and high grade. That's all of the Bronze Horror from the first half of the 70s. And that's just another one that's also tough and high grade. It's just much more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there, though. They come up. They're just pricey. I don't know, 9092 price, 6 or 7 grand, 8 grand at this point.
Yeah, they're ridiculously high in that.
Yeah. I'll have to flip some books for that.
The night up. So I received a book a piece of art that's too big for me to show and carry over here. So I'll show you a picture for scale. This is an original art piece by Matt Bush. This is a painting. And there it is. That's the size of it. That's my daughter there for scale. She's 5 years old and not the shortest 5-year-old. That's a big painting. It's over well over 3 feet tall. It's almost 40 inches plus. And to give you an idea, there's an American flag right there that I have in the window, and there's where it hangs, and a light goes on it on Friday. I'm waiting to pick one up that changes colors. So
yeah, that's real cool.
Yep. Thank you, Anthony Snyder. We discussed this one, made a lot long discussions, long negotiations.
That must have been a pain to ship.
Yeah, he mentioned that a bunch of times.
Was it like in a crate or something?
It came in a hood of a car box, a replacement hood for a Volvo. So a hood for a car.
Yeah.
Came in a box, and it went in that box with mailed paintings or received paintings as well in the mail. I have a lot of other art that often gets shipped in television boxes you could buy from U-Haul as well. What you do is they treat it like a box inside of a box that's got braces on it. And it's probably one of the best ways to ship art in general. Wrap it up nice, like you would a television, and ship it that way. So if you get a TV shipped in your mail, those boxes actually are well known for that. But I'm very happy to have it again.
Are the same as me. Do your wives hate your box hoarding?
I throw them out. I'm a bubble wrap hoarder.
I keep it.
I save every bubble wrap.
You're selling.
And I've got a box of bubble wrap, huge amount. And then it's just because I hate buying it, because so many people pack so many things. I probably use bubble wrap a lot, and you buy it and you say, I'm never going to go through this. And you go through it real quick, especially if you do a claim it sale or a sale or something, you're running through bubble wrap. My box, I have Gemini's bubble wrap. Box hoarding is not really conducive to this place anymore. Sometimes we do by accident box hoard, but we stopped that recently. Pending opportunity.
I usually save all my boxes. Most of the boxes I get that I save are like from CGC or from.
Those are good.
Heritage, yeah, they're good. And so I'll save up enough boxes that I might use. But at a certain point, I have more boxes than I think I'll need at any given point. Yeah. And I know there's going to be more coming. So at that point, I break them down, I cut them up, and then I save the cardboard stacked up, which I use to cover slabs and raws when I ship stuff. So I don't ever buy cardboard. And but bubble wrap, I save bubble wrap, but I still end up having to buy it. And bubble wrap's expensive. I think people who don't do a lot of shipping of comics don't realize when you charge a certain amount for shipping, it's not necessarily just what the postage is. Gemini's cost money, bubble wrap costs money, tape costs money. All that stuff adds up if you're doing like claim sale where you have to ship 20 things. There's a cost to all that stuff. I keep track of all of it. And bubble wrap is the most expensive thing on the list of shipping supplies, honestly. I mean, I don't buy cardboard. I buy Gemini's, but bubble wrap's like the most expensive thing I have to buy on a regular basis. I should pre-order like massive amounts of it, but I buy it at Walmart as I need it. So it's probably way more, or Staples or something. So it's way more expensive that way.
The Japanese ship me, they have this tape. It's kind of like the painter's tape, except it's the exact color of Band-Aids. So it's like really weird looking, but
oh yeah, that is weird.
It's weird funny. So let me introduce the chat while we're here. I see some people got here early. We're going to definitely share some of this information. Unfortunately, the luck of the Irish was not with Jack Sparling when he created the short-lived 1955 comic strip Mr. Rumbles, and the Leprechaun was the title character. Anthony Perdue, great having you here. Of course, Klaus Nording's Lady in Green, luck of quality comics. Indeed, need to be celebrated today. I was thinking of Cowpuncher as well, the Lady in Green as well. I do like Lady Luck, Anthony. It's Jambo, great having you here. My favorite, top of the evening to you all. Golden guys, great call. Bill Smallwood, how are you? Thank you for joining us, William. We really are our honor here. Evening, gents. It's Tuesday night. Tuesday night, C. Holmes knows where to be. The place to be. Right here on the Comic Core channel. Chris Barrett says, what up? Good having Chris Barrett here. And Comic Mad Musing says hello to everybody. Hey, JDDS and Mike. Great
Tech 31 Kids here. My timely.
You're right. Tech 31 Kid is here. Another timely guy. I save all the good boxes, cardboard, and bubble wrap for my purchases mailed to me. Never had to buy any shipping supplies except for packing tape. Packing tape goes through a lot. My wife sells a lot of the clothes. The kids wear never. And she sells a lot of them on these things. And that's there. Oh, we forgot somebody here. Hey, boy, the banner. Here come the 1099s from the eBay peeps. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that at all. I think some people aren't really aware of what it is. But they passed without getting all political, the stimulus package that they passed, like 1% of it was the checks that they're sending to us. The other 99% was just a bunch of crap. And part of that crap was kind of crazy that they did this. No matter, this is a huge jump. They used to, the limit was 20,000. If you were under 20,000 in sales on an online site at Etsy or eBay, if you were under that, you don't have to really worry about it. You just could self-report or whatever. It's just sort of overlooked. But if you did 20 grand in sales or more, they would send you a 1099, and it's a little more strict as far as reporting it for taxes. They dropped that limit from 20,000 down to $600. So now it went from 20 grand to $600. So now if you do $600 of sales on eBay this year, like if you sell one comic book for $650 on eBay, eBay is going to report it to the IRS and send you a 1099. And the idea is when stuff's getting reported by third parties about you, you're more likely to file taxes on it yourself. And that way the government will raise billions and billions of dollars in extra money to go waste on other crap. But yeah, from 20,000 all the way down to 600, that's insane. It's really going to hurt these places because some people aren't going to want to deal with that if they just want to sell a couple things. It affects like DoorDash drivers, people who sell on Etsy, eBay. So
how much do you have to put aside?
Huh?
How much do you have to put aside?
Well, I mean, how much you have to pay in taxes, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, it depends. I mean, if you buy a comic for $700 and then you sell it on eBay for $600 and take a loss, you don't have to pay taxes on it. But if you buy a book for $200 and sell it on eBay for $600, you got to pay taxes on $400 profit, and it's like 20% or whatever.
But aren't they just gonna see like whatever, so and so sold $20K worth of stuff, and then you have to like just
They can't. The rule, the garage sale rule, is in effect. So the way it works is,
I got a 1099 from
you
eBay
pay
last
taxes
year.
to buy something the first time. You shouldn't pay taxes when you sell.
Yeah, I was over 20 grand in sales for eBay last year. I was a good bit over that on eBay for sales last year. So I got a 1099. But I keep track of what I spend on books over the year and what I receive in revenue on books, and I match those up. And I didn't owe any taxes at all because basically,
unless you report,
I just do an inventory. I'm buying and selling inventory. So I sold inventory and I put all that money essentially back into inventory, and then the amount of declared inventory at the end of the year also counts. And so I didn't owe any taxes on that. But yeah, I mean, it's just an extra thing for somebody who just wants to sell something on eBay for $600. Now they're going to get a 1099 and they're going to freak out. Like, what do they do? It's, I don't know. It's a huge jump. $600. It's not a job. It's not something that really needs to be taxed or even looked at if it's $600. But 20 grand is. So somewhere in the middle might be reasonable. I think 600 is way too unreasonably low. It's almost everybody that sells on these things will do $600.
Yeah.
Someone said
Again,
file a C.
You could do that.
Whatever that means.
C corp. It's a C corporation, or you could do an LLC. You start an LLC, and you won't pay any taxes on it.
Yeah, I just do it as a
fees, but LLC.
You can also do it if you don't do a lot of them. You can do it as single collectibles. Like if you buy a book for $5,000 and you sell it for $10,000, it's like a capital gains rate, sort of. It's a $5,000 profit, and you can just, if you're not doing a bunch of them, you can just do it like that. But if you do it like me, where I don't do a ton, but I mean, I don't know, eBay sales, I think I had like 37,000 or something last year. Yeah, I just have inventory costs and revenues, and then remaining inventory at the end of the year, and whatever the profit is.
But yes, I pay taxes when I buy something. So now when I sell it, I got to pay tax again.
If you make a profit on it, yeah. That's true.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Be a libertarian. Join the Libertarian Network. We pay our taxes, but we grin and bear it.
And then when all of the stuff you paid taxes on to buy, and then you pass away, and it goes to your kids, then your kids have to pay tax on the stuff that you've already paid tax on your whole life. And then they take another chunk of it. And then when they sell it, they have to pay taxes on it because they got it for a zero cost basis. So it's all profit. So they have to pay taxes on it again. It's a giant pyramid scam by the government, basically.
Well, that's part of why people were doing the whole cryptocurrency, right?
Cryptocurrency is a wonderful thing.
So, well, I mean, before they kind of regulated it.
Let's see what it's up to now.
I'm not into the whole crypto thing. I don't like the crypto. I don't know anything about it really. I like stuff that is tangible. Cash, precious metals, comic books, like property, stuff that you can actually are tangible. Even like Wall Street starts to get sketchy when people buy and selling stocks because you don't really have anything tangible. And that's really sketchy. And, stuff that's fully digital, like Bitcoin and NFTs now, I don't have a lot of confidence that that's secure. I know it's probably just my own ignorance and old age feeling that way because of the whole people tell, blockchain, it's 100% safe, it's locked in. Man, anything that's just out there in ones and zeros has a potential of being hacked or erased or corrupted. You're never going to convince me otherwise. It's just how hard is it to do it? How often will it occur? How bad will it be if and when it does occur? Whatever. It's not, if I have a comic book and I've got the slab in my hands, it doesn't matter what goes on. I'm protecting it with myself, and it's here, and it's not going to change. But something just out there, ones and zeros, I don't trust it.
Well, they could also say, though, that you could get your stuff ruined by a flood or an earthquake or stolen or...
Yeah,
that's true. I have insurance for that. I take precautions, and it's on me. I feel like I feel responsible for stuff that I personally own that's like tangible, concrete, actual goods that you can hold, as opposed to if something just happens and it wipes out the blockchain. You know what I mean?
They probably have insurance for that too.
Yeah, I know.
The cryptocurrency secure that you have is that, like I have it. So I have various different cryptos. The security I have isn't just on the app. It's there's how blockchain works and how everything is there. It's the transactions that I can do with no cost, in and out real quick. Show somebody this thing, match up phones, $60 later, transactions done. And I mean, it's worked out well because these cryptos were doing nothing. And I've got some Bitcoin, but I just hold it right now, and it's kind of like anything else. But you're right, DS. I believe in precious metals too. Often, usually once a month or so, I order from the U.S. Mint, the U.S. Money Exchange, the U.S. Money Reserve. I try to get one of these every month and stack those up. Stack up some gold, and this is this month, so it's ready to go to the vault.
Yeah, another thing that's about like Bitcoin, I'm not a big fan, and again, this is just my personal opinions and tastes for investing in asset classes and stuff, but I don't like investing in things that potentially could be at odds with a government standard, because when push comes to shove, the government standard is going to win. Now, how far can cryptocurrency? It can't. If cryptocurrency gets to a point where it starts challenging fiat money and the Federal Reserve for the currency of exchange, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? The government's not going to be like, oh, okay, well, I guess everybody likes crypto now. No, they're going to fully, heavily regulate it and shut that shit down.
They're trying.
Again, like, I'm pretty ignorant about cryptocurrency, but a digital currency that is not run by the government is limited. It has a ceiling to how far it can go in society, because when it starts to challenge the government's power, where in monetary arena, the government's not going to take that lightly, and it's going to be a harsh come down on top of crypto. Now, right now, it's just sort of like a fringe thing, and it's like, the hot stock of the year type thing. It's like current trending sort of investment, cool thing. I get that, and it probably does have legit value. I mean, that shit's through the roof. I don't know a lot about it, but there's just sometimes you get a gut feeling. I always tell people when you're investing, there's so much manipulation and fake stuff out there and BS, and you can't rely on the sources of information that much anymore. You really can't believe everything you see or read. So you just have to educate yourself, and you get gut feelings from time to time about markets and assets and investments. And sometimes you have a gut feeling that doesn't, it's contrary to what may actually be out there. I go with my gut. I sometimes have a bad feeling about something and I stay away from it. So I don't know, the Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency, the NFTs, that stuff gives me a bad feeling. So I'm not into it.
I want to ask you guys about, so this is a theory I've heard, is that over the past year, whatever, so all these like people have been getting breaks on their rent, their mortgages, some of their loans, and that's been what has brought a lot, well, plus any stimulus money, has brought in a lot of cash into the collectible market.
The stimulus, look, I hear everybody say this, is completely wrong. The stimulus has nothing to do with the prices of comics and collectibles. Absolutely nothing. If you go back to the start of COVID, the total amount of money that people have gotten from the stimulus, how much of that has gone into collectibles? A very small percentage of the total. I mean, most people are not into collectibles at all. The people that are also have lives and other expenses. Very little of it goes towards collectibles, and it's a one-time shot. You get the check and you spend it. And we're seeing gains week over week over week over the last 2 years of, in some cases, many tens of thousands of dollars appreciation on comic books, and collectibles are selling for millions of dollars. I mean, Pokemon boxes selling for $500,000.
I was bringing up video games.
It's not stimulus. What it is look, there's different type of people in collectibles markets, and the comic market is dominated by a very high percentage of collectors, where they buy stuff and they keep it. And there's some speculation, but there's not much. There's some investing, but it's mostly collectors. And now you have an influx of guys from other collectibles markets, namely Pokemon and sports cards, coming into comics. And those guys don't take prisoners, man. They are not collectors. They are fast and loose in the collectibles, and they're all about the buck. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory manner. That's cool, but they don't take prisoners. They're in it for the buck. They're fast and loose. They're not collectors. They're just moving in and out as fast as they can, making deals and trying to make money. Those guys, those markets are not as stable or as attractive for a variety of reasons as comics. And a lot of them are moving over into the comics and have been recently. It's a huge influx, millions and millions and millions of dollars, and lots of new investors from these other areas. And comics are much rarer than these other collectibles. They're much cheaper than these other collectibles. It's a much more stable market. And so it's very attractive. And so you're getting a lot of these guys move over, and it's a huge increase in demand for comics. It has nothing to do with stimulus. I mean, a $600 check, $1,400 check, that's not causing X-Men 1 and 4, 5 to go for 15 to 20 grand. Okay,
If you pay your mortgage or rent for a year,
these comics, it's just not that.
That's like $12,000 if you don't have to pay your mortgage or rent for a year.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about somebody who's just under the limit that gets the check, that gets one for themselves, one for them spouse, and for the kids, and the whole family's cool with them taking that whole amount and blowing it on one comic. It's still only a few $1,000 once.
Yeah, but plus no mortgage, no rent for a year.
I don't know if that's everybody's case. I mean, it's not.
Well,
my
I mean,
case.
people can
Yeah,
get
but I mean, if it's people in comics, they're already buying comics. It's not like there's extra demand, really. But I'm telling you, go watch some of these sports card channels on YouTube.
Yeah.
Some of these
And
Pokemon channels
are heavy in cash. They're cash heavy, and they just want to put their, kind of like what you're saying. They want to put their money into something that's tangible.
It's a diversification at this point. It really has become a diversification. I forgot a book.
I think stimulus has nothing to do with it. Now, yeah, when I get my $1,400, I'll probably put 1,000 of it toward a comic. But that's like a one-shot thing in a few weeks when I get it. That doesn't account for a $15,000 jump on a Silver Age key. It's just not enough money going in to do that. So, but it'll give a boost. It gives a temporary boost to smaller books, because if everybody in the country is getting $600, then when the comic guys get $600, they go buy that $350 book.
I often bring up the comic books as constantly doing this, going up. And while there has been a spike recently in prices, the percentage is way nowhere near it was from 2005 to 2010 as it was from 2015 to 2020. Percentage wise, those books, when slabs started coming out, everything changed. I mean, you were buying Journey into Mysteries way under thousands of dollars. You were buying, the only books that were really, really high was AF-15, but even that was maybe $2,000 for a fine plus at the time. I mean, I remember $400 people were paying for AF-15, or the first Punisher was going for $110, and it was a beautiful copy. And that wasn't that long ago for me. Again, I'm older, but it wasn't that long ago. I did pick up another book I want to show you. This is another Western pen, Pedigree, one I missed out on when it came around. It found the seller, and it's the Buscema. Yep. This is one of my favorite of the Buscema covers. It's just, I've often looked for the artwork from this. This probably is about a
window cover.
Picture
window cover, 1972, first Jungle Action. It's about a 9.4 because I don't grade any raw higher than that. So it's the highest. It's got the Swell Western pen and the certification down here. So this is going to go with my other Western pens whenever I get enough to send. I've got about a dozen ready to go, but I don't want to send less than 15. I'm looking for a few other ones from the 70s, but got quite a bit. Got some of the keys from the 60s and 70s of Western Penn, and I'm just ecstatic that I got this one. Funny thing is, I already have a very high grade of this book, but it doesn't matter. When
Wait
it came
a minute,
up,
I gotta give you a point to debate a little bit. One last point, because
sure,
and everybody brings up the exact point I was gonna make is that, and you could look at the statistics, and I don't know, maybe it's BS, but like X amount of landlords, X amount of people trying to kick out, they're trying to evict people, they're trying to foreclose on houses, and they can't. And then that just got extended for another however long. But I have to think when I hear about how many numbers that is, if all those people did, oh God, we are getting evicted. Oh God, no more free rent. Oh, they're going to take our house. You're going to see a lot more stuff being sold, I would imagine, and maybe less.
Yeah, but you gotta keep in mind when we look at something from the comic hobby, we see everything in terms of comics. Like across the country, how many people are getting evicted where they're in eviction process and they don't have to worry about it for now? How many of those people are in collectibles market? It's a small percentage overall, and most people who are buying and collecting, big ticket sort of collectibles are not the type of people that generally are getting evicted. Do you know what I mean? Because people who are just paycheck to paycheck are not buying X-Men 1 in a VG. They're not buying giant size X-Men 1. The people buying that are the people who are a little more secure in life, and those are people are not getting evicted. Now, there are exceptions to every rule, but most of the people getting evicted are not people that are buying GSX 1s and FF48s. You know what I mean? Those are people, it's above their means. If they're, hit hard times, they're getting evicted already. You know what I mean? It just doesn't matter.
You're overestimating how responsible all us big kids really are.
I will say this. I did see someone who probably couldn't afford it, had to buy that big Mum-Ra statue in town. And I'm like, dude, don't you owe that guy some money? He goes, yeah, but and I'm like, oh, maybe you shouldn't have spent the $750 on the Mum-Ra statue, in its box, mint condition. Really good thing. But one of the things about the stimulus packages and the influx of cash, so to speak, people being then cash, is a lot of people have taken advantage of the stock market and have seen a lot of things, and the stock market has gone up quite a bit in 4 years. And there's always been a correlation between collectibles, gold, and the stock market. And there's always been, whether it be art, if you remember the Beanie Baby,
probably real estate too.
Real estate is absolutely back. It's tangible. The
really bad here.
Commercial real estate is mortgaging right now at 30%. So to give you an idea what that is when people used to have to make money on their commercial property, they used to have to wait 5 to 10 years. Now they can wait 3, and they've already made their money back just on commercial property, which is very, very rare.
You have to bid. Well, a lot of houses are at least 500K, more like 500 to 8, even $1 million in this godforsaken city. But you have to at least put in like 50 to almost 300K sometimes over the offer, because you're bidding with 20 people or more, and those people are waiving the inspections. They're waiving all this other stuff. The appraisers won't even appraise the house at that value, so they have to front up all that cash. It's crazy.
Yeah, all the stuff's interconnected. But yeah, for comics though, I mean, the stock market has sort of gotten
people also aren't traveling. So one of the things I wanted to bring up was a Disney vacation for a family of 4 for a crazy fan, right? Who wants to go see something. They're not going on vacation right now. And people aren't spending money on schools. That's certainly gone down. People aren't going to the movies. They're not going out a lot. They're not dining out. So one of the things that Lewis said, and he can't join us right now, is the biggest driver in the uptick in the collectibles market as a whole is simply folks sitting at home with very little places to spend what we like to call the entertainment dollars. What we say in the stock market, we call those entertainment dollars. The entertainment stocks, the airlines, the movie theaters, the restaurants, and that's certainly been the case. The other thing is cars. People have not been buying cars. A lot of car marketplaces have gone to the point, and I'm not saying everywhere, I'm saying just in general, people haven't been buying cars as much. They haven't been having the need to. You've also got the aspects, and I'm going to use the golden age stuff that's available. We have seen major media publications and media things advertise what the new price of the Batman 1 is and what is there. So when you start hearing that something breaks $2.5 million, people turn to it that are investors and sit there and says, well, I want in on this. What's a good one for me to get into? Let me tune into the Golden guys and find out. And these guys talk about Captain America. So how much is a Captain America 1? Okay, so it's $75,000. Here it is. We were going to spend $15,000 on a trip to Disney World. We were going to spend another $20,000 in this. So, that's coming into play. So with people during spending time at home, working from home, not spending the money on everything else. And then you've got corporations doing the exact same thing. People that I could tell you this right now, the commercial rental property for office space is so ridiculously cheap right now.
Yeah.
It is so cheap right now that people are actually trying to think about ways to get people back into the office. When now they're thinking, why do I even need an office? Why do I even have to pay this rent and everything else? I can have people work from home. I can watch them from home. I can monitor their progress. And some people, like my wife works from home, she's doing better at home than she would be in the office. Does she want to be in the office? Absolutely. But it's not like she's sitting at home doing housework and laundry and taking care of the kids. She's literally working. Like, I can't even bother her to go out to lunch sometimes, and she's only a block away. But maybe she doesn't want to go to lunch either. I don't know. There's that we talk about. But the entertainment dollar is being spent on collectibles, and whether it be the baseball cards, whether it be the comic books, whether it be the what was the other thing somebody brought up recently? The video games, the sealed video game market.
I'd love to get some of these guys, these new guys, because I know they go crazy over the 9/8 of the bronze and the, I wouldn't say modern, but copper maybe.
Yeah, copper.
I wonder how they are approaching Golden Age, because when you don't have that much knowledge, and even that happened to me. I used to think like a 3 or a 4.0 was that seems pretty low, for that price of a Golden Age book. But I'm wondering how long it'll take them. Maybe they haven't fully hit the Golden Age yet because of that.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of them are jumping in at Copper Age stuff. But I think when you get into the hobby for whatever reason or wherever you come from, there's a natural progression to bigger and bigger books, and that generally goes further back into the bronze and into the silver. Now, some people will go even further back into the gold, and some will just stop at the silver. But yeah, well, the one thing I want to point out, though, is, we've been in this quarantine for a year, and I feel like over the last several months, things have gotten more relaxed. I mean, it depends where you are. If you're in New York City, you may not have noticed any change. But if you're where I am, everything is open where I am, and it has been for months. Everything's open.
Oh, yeah. We've been open the whole time.
People are doing stuff. But the comic prices for the whole first part of 2020, yeah, they went up a little bit, but it wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't really until the end of last year where prices really accelerated. And then coming into the beginning of this year, they're just through the roof. We've been in quarantine for a whole year. We're just now seeing this huge acceleration. I really don't think what we're seeing in the comic market, the explosion of values, has anything to do with stimulus or people sitting home with nothing else to do, or lacks of vacations. Yeah, that's a little extra money trickling into the hobby from people who are already in the hobby. That has a little effect. But the explosion that we're seeing in the last 3 months, I think, is due almost entirely to people from other collectibles markets moving into comics. And I think it's predominantly sports cards collectors, followed by Pokemon crowd. Yeah, all this other stuff is ways that money comes into the hobby, and that's general stuff that can happen all the time. But the recent explosion in prices is not accounted for by that stuff. That stuff was going on all of 2020, and the prices weren't like this. All of a sudden, New Mutants 98 in the course of 2 months goes from a $700 book to a $3,000 book. That's not because people are sitting home with nothing to do. That's baseball card guys and basketball card guys now investing in comics and driving up the price because they think 3,000 on the census for a 9.8 is rare, and they're just gobbling them up. That's what's happening. Also, nothing to do with the entertainment money and the lack of vacations and the stimulus.
I'm also going to throw in. I'm also going to throw in something to ponder about as well, is comics, cards, collectibles you can buy from home. You don't have, where 20 years ago you couldn't. I mean, you could, but you didn't. You know, when eBay first came out, I remember it was very hard to convince people to buy things on eBay that were collectible. Oh, you did. I did. I mean, I flat out will tell you this right now. My entire Avengers run was under $300, and I was buying 1 through 19 and 2. I mean, it was doubled. I mean, I used to have Silver Surfer 1 through 18, multiple copies of those runs, and I just kept it. Now it's even better, more safe. Now you've got grading and everything else. But the other thing that has also, buying from home has changed, that people can own. I mean, now you can buy gold and have it delivered to your house. It comes in a box. That makes it easier. Never happened back in the day. Yeah, you could buy ammunition from your house.
Yeah, and collectibles prices are sort of, in a good way, disconnected from whatever's going on in actual real world society, because prices can accelerate naturally based on supply and demand just from online business. You don't need brick and mortar. You don't need quarantine or not quarantine. It doesn't matter. So it doesn't hamper the collectibles market to be stuck at home. So that's why this market is able to explode right now, because of natural factors of supply and demand. Quarantine is not hampering this market at all, because you can just do it from home anyway, and you could do it from home whether businesses are open or closed. It doesn't matter. You can still do it from home. But I'm telling you, I just think it's guys from other markets moving over in the last 3 to 5 months. They got a little bit, and the word spread, and those guys are diving in like crazy, thousands and thousands and thousands of them with lots of money. And they're starting with the copper stuff. They're buying up some of the big bronze keys. And it's Marvel. You can tell, because it's like, these guys are not comic experts. They just know like pop culture stuff. So what do they know? MCU. So DC books aren't moving. DC books are not exploding. It's Marvel books. Why? Because that's what these guys know when they come over. They know about the MCU.
I'm expecting that forever. People start
about X-Men. So that's the big Marvel keys. The more esoteric stuff and the DC stuff is not moving the same way at all. It's sort of just following the trend it was before. This other stuff is exploding, because the people coming in, that's where you start when you get into the hobby. You start with what you know, and what you know off the top of your head in pop culture is the MCU. So that's where they're throwing their money, and that will evolve depending on how long they decide to stick around, into some more esoteric stuff, some deeper Silver Age, and into some gold over time.
I also think people there's something comforting about having your collectibles and buying your stuff. You're home with your family and you're
own a piece of your youth
all the time now, and these things aren't changing. It's always still kept number 7. Like, no matter what craziness is happening.
And it's cool because of the size of them. Like, if you have a baseball card, it's tough to hang a baseball card in a frame on your wall by itself. You have to have a photo or a newspaper or make a nice sort of display. But comics have a perfect size. They're nice pieces of art. They're like little mini collectible posters you can hang on your wall, and they're very ingrained in pop culture. And there's a lot of variety if you like horror, superheroes, or whatever. And they're really cool pieces of art to own, and they're collectible. And the third-party grading is well established in comics. And compared to other markets like Pokemon and sports cards, they are rare. Now, I don't think a New Mutants 98 and a 9.8 is rare. It's super common. But when they're talking about population counts of 100,000 or 80,000 of some Prism basketball card or something, yeah, it's rare to them. I get it. They're buying them up because this is a rare comic book. That makes sense. So that's what drives it. So New Mutants 98 goes from 700 to 3,000 in like 2 months. I mean, I don't think people are dropping that much stimulus or entertainment money on New Mutants 98 all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that want to bring up is that in the early part of COVID, a lot of people put finances on hold, you know? Nobody knew what was going on. They didn't spend anything. And then paychecks started coming in and then everything else. And, you know, people also decorate their home more. So they want to go see their stuff in their house. And, you know, one of the things I tell people is why do people collect comic books? And I say the number one reason I think for fans to collect them is because they own a piece of their youth or they own a piece of something they like.
Yeah, it's the same with toys, toy collecting.
Toys. I mean, I know that the toys and the statues and the paintings I have and the art I collect, I know, yes, they are commodities. Yes, they are investments. They are absolutely great investments. I think they are phenomenal, but they aren't, you know, people are bored with a lot of things. And you know, people aren't, you know, the one thing people were doing way back when about real estate, which was brought up, was flipping houses. Now that market's kind of dried up because while you can think you can do it, the cost is too high.
Yeah.
You know,
and
people flipped houses from 2009 to 2012. You even had shows on TV. People buying storage lockers is skyrocketed. I mean, I know people that buy a ton of storage. I mean, they spend hundreds of $1,000s a month on storage units for various things. And when they get comics, I'm the first guy they call. And a lot of it's direct, but a lot of it isn't. But there's other things in there. I'm like, hey, you know, those masks are worth a fortune. And he starts researching them and he's selling those for 70 grand, you know, and it's anything people can do. And another thing, you know, I brought up ammunition and firearms. That is something where very difficult to do would be to open up a business in the middle of a crisis, except if you opened up that, you know?
Yeah, I think if you look at guns, or you can open a liquor store, you can open stuff like gambling.
Yes, and alcohol, and anything in general. I mean, there's value in everything. Not everything, you know, just because this is worth 25 cents, not for the metal that's inside of it anymore. This is just worth 25 cents because it says 25 cents. But this may be a spec book based on tomorrow's movie debut, you know, and I'd rather have this than have the 25-cent price it was to pay for it. You know what I mean? That's what I'm showing the different examples. This has always been 25 cents the quarter, and back in the day, 25 cents you could buy. Oh, here it was, New Gods. This was a quarter. The rest were 15 centers. But you know, now people, a great line that somebody asked me goes, "What's the one thing you miss about comics when you were younger?" And I said, paying under $1. Paying $1 for a book.
I just going to the place to look at it. Like,
I mean, that's when I still hit the comic shops, the ones that don't.
But as a kid, you know, I remember that was fun.
It always was. I mean, I loved going in with like $1.50 and getting 2 books, and then sitting outside with your friends and reading, and then your other friend who had $2 on him, he went to go get sodas and candy, and then you sat there and you read the books and you handed them off to each other. That's
a comic book for a kid back in the day was like you're reading something that your parents don't care about, your grandparents don't care about. It's your own little world. Now they just go to a website or something, probably.
Yeah. So this chart does this chart to anybody look like that is related to a 1 year long quarantine? There's something else going on when a book is just has a little jump, and then all of a sudden it's just through the roof in the last couple months.
Is that a year's worth? Your name is kind of covering some of the. Oh, I see.
No, I mean I could. I'd have to.
I think it's all related.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of stuff that's been going on for a year, and then there's some books that have jumped in the last 2 months. Clearly, to me, something else is going on if they're not following the same track of this last year. People were getting stimulus money, and GSX prices didn't jump. So why are they jumping now? And people are still waiting for that 1,400. So I really don't think the stimulus or the entertainment money. I mean, that's a little bit here and there, but.
But do you think
chart anything you think is causing it against what's actually happening, and they don't match up? The spikes are explosive and very recent. This quarantine stuff, everything related to the quarantine has been going on for over a year now. It's not matching up with the charts of the comic prices that are massively exploding over the last couple of months.
So you move on the record right now. If the government decides no more stimulus, no more rent free, no more mortgage forbearances, all evictions back. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
That it'll be no difference for us.
I don't think that will cause comic prices to crash.
Yeah, well, I don't think it would crash, but I think we would see a difference.
Maybe I think comic prices will settle down for a minute.
More supply, maybe.
Based on the supply and demand, but I don't think that what you're suggesting will cause them to settle back down. I think other factors will cause that as they naturally and organically occur in the market. Look, you got to keep in mind, not all areas of the country is more and more of the country is opening back up. Now, there are some places in the country that are just still not very open. But where I am, I mean, it's been open for a while. It seems like normal life here for many months already. It's just that a lot of people are still wearing masks out and about, but that's the only difference here. So, yeah, I mean, things will get back to normal, and I don't think that that's going to now divert a bunch of money out of the hobby. I think the money that's coming into the hobby is coming in for reasons that have nothing to do with what the COVID pandemic. So, yeah, I don't think that's going to – I wouldn't sell all my comics if the government says everything's going back to normal tomorrow. I wouldn't sell my comics if it could crash. Huh?
What do you hope is going to happen?
With comics?
Yeah.
They go up.
I mean, I hope that all the new people coming into the hobby stick around, because I like having a market that is really hot and has a lot of demand and a lot of players and a lot of money and a lot of investors in it. I'm not the kind of guy that squirrels a couple bucks out of my paycheck each week and saves up to buy that next book to help complete my run. I'm not that guy. I wheel and deal and try to make my way in this hobby. And the more people throw money into the hobby, the better for a guy like me, because I can hustle. There's more people to hustle deals with. There's more books flying around. There's more money flying around. And when a market's like that and it's very active, there's a lot of opportunities. And I like to capitalize on opportunities more so than just saving money and buying something and holding it forever. I don't do that. But if you are somebody that just likes to collect and you're working on an X-Men run, you're fucked. That's just you're going to have to hope that these guys leave and the market calms down and stuff crashes, because it's not a good market to be a collector, but it's an awesome market to be an investor or a speculator or an opportunist. It's a really good market for that right now. I mean,
so if it prices you out, you're fine with that?
If what?
Like for me, there's a lot of books where a couple years ago I would have wanted, but the prices are so drastically different now that I don't know why, but I'm okay with like, I just don't, that's too much.
Yeah, I mean, there's some books that get too expensive, and then I don't want to pay for them. That's fine. And then there's other books I can get, but I sort of have two tracks in this hobby.
If
One
it keeps
track,
going, it's gonna double and then double again and then double.
yeah, whatever. But I have two tracks. The one track I'm on, I'm just trying to make money and build value, and I can do that better in a market that's red hot like this. And then the other track is where I like to collect cool golden age books. Now, the money I can make on the one track helps support the other track. So when prices get high and everything's crazy, I can make more money and then I can afford bigger books anyway. If the market's just stagnant and the books I want are cheap, it doesn't make it easier for me to get the money to buy them because there's not a lot of action to work off of. And I've been doing this for a few years, and prices have gone up, and I have a Planet Comics 1, I have a Starling 49. I have some decent sized books that before were way outside of my price range and now are not, because I hustle to make value that I can then use to pick off books I like here and there for my collection.
I mean, you sound exactly like I did 15. You sound like I did 15, 18 years ago when I was saying, hey, I'm going to sell all these Spider-Mans, which I did, and I'm going to buy those books that I never could afford back in the day because they were a couple of $100. And those were the Silver Surfer runs, the Fantastic Four 48 for 50 or $120, or when I started to accumulate money and say, I'm going to start spending more on comics. I was able to do it because of what my collection was at the time. 70,000 comic books is some ridiculous amount. When I moved out of my house, my mom says, take them funny papers with you. Because it was half of the room. But when that happens, and it happens again and again and again, I see this as something that's no different, and I do think it's going to continue because people aren't going to go away from what they want. And I think I want to see what I want to see from the industry, especially that is the new people stick around for sure is number one. Number two is that reasonable people realize that there are going to be other ways to own part of your comic or own part of your youth in the future. And, it's just one of those things. I think like right now I'm buying books for my kids, their characters that they like, their first appearances, Starfire, Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen. I already have the other ones. My son likes a lot of what I do, but he really likes, Miles Morales. He really likes the, my daughter loves Starfire and Raven and the Teen Titans. So that's something where I never really collected that before. So I just took my money in some other books I had, and I said, well, I've got a lot of these Conans, and I've got several runs of Conans, and I've got, the first appearance of this guy, who I don't see as going down in any price, but I don't want to get priced out of a modern book. Thank God I got my Miles Morales as young, because I just saw one the other day, not the Marko Djurkovic cover, but the standard one was going for very high, second prints, third prints. And I think that's great. And I like that because that's where, one of the cool things is, look, I got first appearance of my favorite character. My kids are going to hate me for it because they're not going to have to worry about that. If they tell me tomorrow that their favorite character is, I don't know who's a more modern, whoever it is, Jackpot. Is that a name of somebody? I don't know. I don't know if there is one. Let's just say Jackpot comes out on something on TV, and they want a Jackpot comic. I'll go out and buy the Jackpot first appearance for them, and I'll make sure I get them in the highest grade, and I put it aside and say, there it is over there. And I display it on their wall. I have art coming of those characters, and I've got art of that characters, and I put it for them. A good example is Superman. My son loves Superman. So DS, that 233, that's my son's first comic book. And then I matched it up with an action one, not a legitimate one of the reprints, and then a Golden Age one, and then I he really likes that poster. So I got Neil Adams to sign one for me, you know, a print of that 233, you know, and I think that's part of when I started doing that. I started getting rejuvenated into it as well. So I want to see that part of it as well, where we're the first generation, or people our age are the first generation who started buying comic books as collectibles, not just readers. Maybe it was the generation before that started it, but they were few and far between. You could probably, one out of every 50 people that bought comic books were hoarding them and putting them away, and they became pedigrees. And now my age, the 45 and up, 45 to 50 group, or the 40 to 50 group, are now buying stuff for their kids, and the 30-year-olds are doing the same thing. And I think it's a good thing. I think this is why, you know, when we get into the golden age, what makes our era so much better than any other era for this is that we still are on the hunt for our favorite books, you know. But our kids are going to be like,
because
I hope my kids win the lottery so I get a Fantastic Four, you know,
for their kids and stuff in the 50s and all this.
Barbie dolls.
Parents didn't like, you know, Fantastic Four when that came out. It was the kids thing, you know, like,
yeah.
I think you're just hoping that it stays relevant.
Parents,
well, yeah, but what about, like, look, you have like an Ultimate Fallout 4, and it's tough for me to watch that book sell for $3,000 and not think that that's insane. But think of it this way: what going forward from today for the next decade, what's a more important book? Is it Ultimate Fallout 4, the first Miles Morales, or is it the first appearance of Deadpool? You know, what's a more important book for the next 10 years? It's got to be Miles Morales is going to be a more important key than the first Deadpool going forward. Is 3,000 crazy for that? I mean, you're talking about a massive book going forward with a ton of demand, and it's just at the start of this character's, you know, 10, 20 years from now, that could be the biggest character in comics. And you'll be like,
I absolutely agree with that.
$1,000 back in 2020. You know what I mean? So
I absolutely think Miles Morales has got, I mean, he's just a cooler spy. I've read those Miles Morales when they came out, and I'm a big fan of it. And I really did not like Peter Parker, the way that was going. And I fell into Miles Morales, and it's just a cooler story. I mean, it's every time they redo a Spider-Man, it's Uncle Ben dying, but Miles is different. He's just a different character altogether.
Like it.
Oh, I love Miles Morales. I think he's a better character.
I think every kid, I mean, there's got to be more people seeing the regular Spider-Man than Miles Morales.
Yeah, for now. But I mean, Miles Morales hasn't even been in a movie yet. He hasn't really had a variety of titles. He hasn't had, like, Spider-Man's been around since the early 60s. He's been in tons of movies. He's been in pop culture. There's T-shirts. There's beach towels. There's action figures. He's had multiple villains, costume changes. He had the whole black suit thing that led to Venom. I mean, he's had a long history to get ingrained. Miles Morales just appeared on the scene, essentially. I mean, yeah, he's been around since 2011. There's not a lot out there. If they can, and they committed to this character, they're going to put him into pop culture. 10, 15 years from now, Miles Morales is going to be a massive pop culture Marvel icon. And I think $3,000 for his first appearance is going to seem very reasonable.
10 years.
I'm also throwing in the female factor. The female factor, the amount of women that have gotten into comics and enjoyed the comic movies and everything else like that is why I focused on Gwen more than Captain Marvel. I mean, Captain Marvel had a run, but Carol Danvers, you know, and Kamala Khan. My daughter loves Kamala Khan. She can't wait for the Kamala Khan thing. She watches something on the TV on the Disney Channel has a cartoon with them doing that, and then she watches the one on DC on Warner Brothers about the superheroes, and I'm excited about that. And Star Wars is a whole nother world. I mean, that's a whole nother ballgame where you have media-driven characters. We have to admit that there has to be the MCU era of comics.
Characters, aren't they?
What?
Aren't they derivative of the original?
They're all the same. Yeah, they're all Supergirl
So
is still Supergirl, but
kid will want
it's
the
different.
AF-15.
A bit like a good example is like Starfire and Raven, right? Girls, it wasn't written by girls. Marv Wolfman and George Perez didn't written, but now it's totally different. Now they're much more female oriented, I guess, in a way, or driven. They're writing, whether you like it or not. As a old comic book reader, I think it's dribble, but my daughter seems to enjoy watching it on TV, and it's cool for her that they're doing a track meet in high school, or with their high school kids or something, and they're bigger kids for her. When I look at the Golden Age stuff that I think is going to affect this market, and the Golden Age stuff that is affected by this market is the comic card collector going for the rarity factor, because for every comic, every book, every baseball card, there are one for every 1,000 baseball cards at least of every comic. And I'm saying that's generous. There are millions of baseball cards. They're easy to produce. They're cheap. It's a single ply thing versus a book that has to contain a story, interior, exterior, advertisements, everything in the front there, cover price, everything on there. When you buy a pack of cards, you get 10 there. There's no thing. I mean, you get three.
Those cards are not worth anything, and the ones that are the modern ones, they're numbered. They're signed and numbered. The ones of 1 in 5, the 1 in 50, 1 in 250. Those are the big ticket ones. Most of them are autographed. I'm just talking modern baseball.
Yeah, you're right. When you get into Golden Age, there's a couple other things. It's not like there's a comic book market that goes from Golden Age to modern. That's not. They're all comic books, but it's not one big happy comic market family. When you get back into Golden Age, there's some other market aspects that come into play on those books, and one is almost I call it almost like a fine art aspect. It's so cover art driven that it's almost a fine art category as opposed to a comic category. And then there's also an antique aspect to it, because an early Golden Age action or tech or something, yes, it's a comic book, yes, it's a Batman or Superman comic book character, but there's an antique element to it, and there's a fine art sort of aspect to it, that's not present on moderns. Moderns are just strictly comic book collectibles market. Bronze Age is just pretty much strictly a comic book collectibles market. Silver Age, same deal. When you get back into the Golden Age, where it becomes much more heavily cover driven, there's character driven stuff too, but the cover stuff in the Golden Age, it's almost like an art category and not a comic category. And it's also so old and so rare, and the condition varies from falling apart brittle mess to nice. It's an antique sort of thing to it too. So there's a lot of other things that come into play for the Golden Age market, which is why I don't think the Golden Age market is going to explode on the same whims that the copper market will. But it also has less of a downside, I think, than some of those markets, because sports cards guys can bolt and Copper Age keys will come down. It's not going to have anything to do with Golden Age books. The Golden Age market is operating on a lot of different factors.
It's blue chip. It's total blue chip. Fine art. You brought it up. It's fine art. I mean, it's antique fine art. Antiques are very popular. Antique cars, antique trucks, antique toys, antique masks, antique everything, and antique books. If you want to know what's crazy is go try to find a first print of an Ernest Hemingway book, and then try to understand that it's from a couple of years after or before a comic book sometime. Well, not Hemingway. Hemingway was mostly World War I to the beginning of World War II. But those first print books are very hard to find. And there are more of them than there are of comic books. Now, I'm not comparing
the scarcity of Golden Age books, the unique quality of them, and even among the few that still exist, to find some that are in good condition, it's a much different animal than just how much money are you willing to pony up for a Secret Wars 8? Do you know what I mean? I mean, yeah, it's rare compared to a sports card maybe, but Secret Wars 8, it's pretty much do you have enough? Do you want a 9.8 or a 9.6 or a 9.4? Do you want a newsstand? Do you want one signed? Do you want a CBCS or CGC? For Golden Age, it's not like that. If you come across something like a Dynamic Comics 8, that's the only one I've ever had a chance of buying, and that's a 3.0. And luckily for me, I got a really nice collection of a very sort of antique piece of art. That's highly collectible because of the art aspect to it, and it's a good condition antiquity, sort of. Yeah, so I think there's other things that come into play with the Golden Age market that makes it more stable, sort of, from a downside, but also there's less risk of it going down, but you also have massive explosive rewards like Copper Age comics. You could have bought Secret Wars 8 and a 9.8 last year for like $200, and now it's selling. You got 5 or 6 times your value on it over in just a year.
That's just a costume.
On Golden Age books. Golden Age books are not, quintupling or sextupling in a year, but they're also not subject to the downswings like more modern comics are either. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it. I've been doing this for like 6 years now.
Do you think it will quadruple though again?
What, like Secret Wars 8?
Yeah.
No.
Like this time next year, will we be saying it is now 4 times as much it is from?
Well, you reach an equilibrium where it reaches a certain point where those who own it are now willing to put it on the market, and the price is such that you have just as many people willing to now sell their copies as you have people willing to buy their copies, and then the price stabilizes. But at first, what we've seen over the last several months is you have a ton new people wanting to buy it, and there's not extra ones on the market. But as more of them now are coming onto the market, people are gobbling them up and listing them as fast as they can. It'll stabilize a little bit. But I don't see that book or any of these other Copper sort of books crashing. Or GSX2 or like FF48 or Marvel Spotlight 5. They'll stabilize. And some of them might dip a little bit, some of them might continue up, but there'll be a stabilizing point once all this new demand is sort of absorbed into the market, and prices will settle out naturally for the new demand and supply that's out there. Because demand just got jacked up, and if that stays, you'll have the prices will now settle at a higher floor, and it will move from there.
Have the supply? Has there been a supply differences in those books? Because I don't follow them, but is it hard?
You used to. If
There's
you would
been a supply of SLAD books like you wouldn't believe. If you want to know how many books are being sent to CGC right now,
yeah, but I mean, if you want to buy
pressers, there are pressers that are so backlogged right now that they're a year out before they can possibly get.
How many do you get to choose from if you want to buy a Secret Wars 98 or 9.8? Like a ton, way more than last year?
I mean, look, you used to be able to search on eBay for Secret Wars 8, CGC 9.8, and you would get like 60 or 70 results. Okay. Right now I'm searching, there's only 12 available on eBay.
Yeah.
They're getting gobbled up as fast as they're getting listed. So right now, Secret Wars 8 and a 9.8 is a much rarer book than it was a couple months ago. They're much harder to get now. And the prices are high because there's not a lot to choose from. So yeah, the demand has caused a lot of these supplies to sort of dry up to a point where there's only 12 9.8s of that on eBay. That's insanely low number.
These people are going to drop this shit so fast if they feel inclined to the comic thing's done. I mean, that is going to they're going to.
Yeah, if they leave.
I don't
have a lot of confidence in sports cards, guys, because they are fast and loose, man. They don't take prisoners, and they're in it for a buck. And if a bunch of these guys who picked up these books, a month ago, are already going to put them back out on the market because they've already doubled their money. They don't. They like stuff until they can make a profit, and then they don't like it anymore. They'll move it. They're not collectors. Everybody has a PC of some type if you're in collectibles. But I feel like the sports card market already. They're ruthless, man. They will just take profits when they can, and some of these guys are putting stuff back out.
But if they were all flipping, then wouldn't there be more in the market?
Well, that will happen if the price can only go up so high before all these guys now start flipping the stuff they just bought.
Yeah. It's going to be fun to watch.
And I think it's starting to reach, I don't know if it's starting to reach that point, but you see some books, it was going up weekly. And now you're seeing some of these books are like, they're starting to just maintain that. One will get listed at that price and it'll sell. Another one will get listed at that price and it'll sell, but it's not, the high one's still sitting there and nobody's willing to pick that up. And so, I don't know where it ends, where it stabilizes at, but.
Weren't the records in the last few auctions pretty, like there was a lot of new records, wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, records are still being set, yeah. You'll be able to tell when you start seeing Comic Link. Comic Link is the best one for this stuff because they have a lot of Copper Age stuff. Heritage doesn't have that much Copper Age stuff.
Right.
Connect has some, but Comic Link is a really good one to watch for what we're talking about because they have a lot of Copper and Modern stuff at the back end of their auctions every month. And you can just keep an eye on those and some of the key books and see where they fall. And I think you'll start noticing over the next couple months, prices not going up much. They're just sort of staying the same. Like a Secret Wars 8 sold for 1,000, and then next month it'll sell for 1,000. And you'll see it'll sort of stabilize at a certain level.
What is so if these sports guys and maybe some stock kind of guys, who have no emotional attachment to this stuff. So if they think of this as numbers, what are the numbers that they are accustomed to dumping stuff at? Like if they buy a stock, if it falls a certain percentage, what is that number where they're like dump?
It's different for everybody. It's 30% increase, 20% downward turn for some hedge funds. It depends on the overall market. The problem is there's no index. So if the S&P 500 is up, let's say 11%, you want to beat that by a certain percentage to prove to your clients that you're better than buying things on your own. So when you're talking about stock guys and hedge funds, they want to beat the estimates and beat the average.
Paralysis?
Who's that?
Exactly. All right. Good job.
I don't know where the prices will stabilize, but when you have a market that's sort of stable, which is what we've had over the last few years, and then all of a sudden there's this massive new amount of demand thrown into it, it takes time to absorb that and sort of stabilize. Now, where that happens, I don't know, but what helps cause that to stabilize is the part of the demand that got stuff early into this rush is going to start putting their stuff back on the market at some point. A guy who spent $700 on a Secret Wars 8 and it starts selling for $1,500, all those first tier guys are going to put theirs back on the market and supply will go up and that'll keep the price down a little bit. And somewhere it will stabilize. But I don't think these books are crashing. I mean, where they're at is this is like the new, unless sports cards market or Pokemon market changes, but I don't see those markets becoming more stable. The Pokemon is still a very speculative market. It hasn't been around that long.
Yeah. It could be that we're just...
We could see a bunch more demand still to come.
Well, we could be just a niche collectible with not many, a non-mainstream thing that this could be just normal now.
I think it is.
All this many people interested.
But look, if Pokemon market collapses, which is possible, there's a lot of things about that market that I don't trust. And a lot of people in the Pokemon market decide to come to comics. You all have a whole nother influx, a flood of demand now coming into comics that could drive prices even higher. I don't see the Pokemon market. I don't, to some degree, Pokemon is collectible and it always will be. But I think the level that market's at right now, there's a ton of stuff in that market that is just doesn't have any rarity or any specialness. And it's sort of just like a fad. A large portion of the Pokemon market seems to me to be a novelty or fad. And when that wears off, that part of the market will go away. Those guys might come over into comics, or probably maybe some might go to sports cards too. I don't know. There's a lot more manufactured sort of collectability in Pokemon and sports cards as opposed to comics. Now, comics has it to some degree with modern spec and variants and stuff, But most of the comic market is not that. I feel like a larger portion of Pokemon and sports cards markets are that. Now, it's not most of the market, but there's more of it in those markets than there is in the comic book market. Because I feel like most people in comics are into stuff other than modern variants. And the modern variant market is a very small percentage of the overall comic market for numbers and overall money. I mean, the most expensive spec variant thing that comes out, you know, people complain when an LCS marks up their $4.99 book to $50. You know, it's not like they're going up to $100,000.
But I thought that the CGC numbers of graded books are majority modern.
Yeah, they probably are. Well, I don't know. I don't. The ones being sent in, you mean?
Yeah.
A lot of modern.
I don't know.
A lot of moderns. There's a lot of moderns being taken. Call a presser, and they'll tell you right now they're getting hit with books that they don't even understand why they're getting with. These are guys that used to deal with FF1s and Silver Age stuff that says, I'm getting stacks of Secret Wars 8s, ASM 300s, stacks of random 361, random. And he just brought up Spider-Man because he said, I had a guy submit 25 of each of these things. And I said, I have to understand that we're pressing 6s and 7s at this point of modern books, which we never did before.
Yeah, but what's the total value as a percentage of the overall comic market of modern sort of spec variants? I mean, the total value of those books is low compared to, I mean, you pull out a couple,
way low, yeah.
Couple Golden Age.
One action one beats it.
Number of modern variants. They're not worth as a total all that much as far as money in the market. But yeah, there's a ton of them, but they're all worth not much. I mean, $50, $100, $200. Now there's some bigger ones, some Star Wars stuff or whatever, but 99% of the modern, the real ultra modern stuff is not worth much. So if you lump all that together into a giant sum, it's not a lot of actual money in the market. But there's a lot of books, but they're just not that big.
I got a question. So maybe it wouldn't surprise me if it was 5 years ago because time's going by really fast for me. But some comic dealers, like, you know, Nerdy Girl is the bigger one of the ones I know of. Yeah. But they saw, the video games started grading, and they were just paying attention, and they were like, wow, the numbers on some of these Grail, like, sealed Mario, whatever, these big Grail video games are like expensive in the video game market, but is peanuts. And she was right in the fact that seeing, like, when something is truly rare and it's an actual Grail to people, they will pay, they'll pay the Golden Age prices if it means that much to them. So then they bought tons, and a lot of these dealers went into the video game market, and all the video game collectors were all pissed off because it drove the prices through the roof. Now, is that similar to the way that you guys are talking about the sports card people coming over here?
Yeah, I think it's similar.
I think there's correlation.
Yeah, because you had a video game collectors before, and it seems like most of the new money that has gone into video games has come from the comic book hobby.
Yeah, and it's all inherited.
Major dealers, yeah, but a lot of the new demand that video game collectors have seen has come from comics, yes, and has driven prices up over there because there's a whole bunch of new demand. And of course, with grading always stimulates the prices in collectibles market because it gives you the ability to distinguish between different grades of a collectible, which can drive prices up on the high end.
Authenticity.
Yeah, I mean, it creates scarcity because instead of just having this many total, you have this many high grade or this many 9.8 or whatever. So it changes the levels of scarcity, and it also changes the price levels because now you have certain grades you can go after. Yeah, so the grading, that same thing happened with comics. Same things happen with PSA. Same thing happened with coins. I mean, anytime you have third-party grading in a collectibles market, it boosts the prices up.
Why pulps, if they get graded?
Yeah, that's what I was saying about pulps.
Pulps is huge. I mean,
magazines.
we're dedicating a whole show in April to the pulps, so probably more than one, but coming up. Just because we have people asking about it, and it's part of the golden age, if you ask me.
DS was giving me a lot of help. So in the Japanese market, of some of the old stuff I deal with, I see some of this stuff as like major grails and worth a lot more. I think it's undervalued because of how hard it is to get some of this stuff, but there's no grading. And, he was,
Yeah.
I was using his eyes to help me figure out, because some of the stuff, it's like the old days before CGC where you're like, it looks good from the pictures, but, you can't really know. And you just have to kind of guess. But it was interesting to remember that kind of feeling.
And with grading, you don't have to worry about it. You just decide how much you want to pay for it, and you're good to go. There's no question about it. Yeah. Comic Book 1962 is asking a question about the original art. It's not that I don't think you can compare the print comic with the original art that's from that comic. They're not really related so much as one's an original art market and one is a comic book market, and they operate on different principles with different collectors and different valuations. It's almost incidental that it's from a particular comic. It's by a particular artist. It has a particular theme. It might be a lot of action panels or have heroes on it or something, but there's different valuations and different factors that go into it. It's almost just incidental that it happens to come from a comic book, but the two are not related market-wise. But I'm not into original art, so I don't know the valuations of that stuff. I don't know.
The biggest thing right now in original art has been the well-known artists from the 90s have totally taken over the value, where it's fine by a lot of people because the real value in original art is how do I put this in the right way? You could buy a comic that you don't really like, but you don't buy original art unless you love it, because you really, it's a harder market to sell. It's an entirely different aspect of things. I mean, original art, there are some artists that are worth a ton more than others for the same book, a book before, a book later, a book by one artist. If you say the word Jack Kirby or Ditko, you're paying a ton. If you say a guy like Ron Wilson or somebody else, you're paying fractions on there. And today's modern comics art, original art, isn't really that attractive because it's just not really the same thing. It's mostly digital, and I mean there are a few artists who still do pencil, so that comes into play.
NFT or whatever it is. Something.
And the other thing about original art is why I collect original art, because original art by the artists I collect for, because I like art to begin with. Comic art is not my only art I've ever collected. I've collected from various other artists in my life, and various paintings or prints or limited editions or special runs of things. But when it deals in comic, when I combine the two of them together, the passion is there and it's displayed. It's, not mine. Mine is mostly standing over there until I move into a house where I can put this all up all over the place in every room. But part of it is, one thing you have to remember about original art, it's fickle because it's taste driven, and usually there's a FOMO with art more than there is with comics. If you really want the scene of a certain book, like everybody wants to know the page from Spider-Man, the Gwen Stacy of Captain Stacy dying is about to hit the market again in about 6 months. That is going to be the mostly paid for an interior page we've seen in years. Yes, it's going to be since the Hulk 180 last page.
So I'd rather have that.
But because it was the first time Herb Trimpe ever drew Wolverine, technically not accurate, but the first time it ever was published. But the Captain Stacy dying is a story driven. You know, the AF-15 art you don't see. It probably doesn't. Spider-Man 1 art is very hard to find, but there are some.
It's donated to the public, whatever.
Right. There are some that are in Congress. There are some that have just never been found. There's stuff that doesn't exist.
15 is there.
Yep. And there is.
Co is the one who put that. Who do you think donated that to that?
Oh, it was definitely not. What's her name? The woman. Because
Do you think it was Co himself?
It could have been. I don't know. I'll have to ask one of the guys, one of the art guys. But one of the things about original art also is that what has done is the artist that you see that says is doing Venom, let's say Ryan Stegman, his pages sell immediately by him. The artists themselves sell their own work, and then it goes to a broker, and then the broker sells it to the public. So there's a markup to a markup to a markup on art right off the bat. And then when you have it, it immediately you think, oh, this is going to be worth so much money in years, but you may or may not be right. Same thing with the
liquid.
It's not as liquid, but it's much more tangible.
But it might be as liquid as Golden Age.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I feel like
silver or copper or anything though.
Golden Age books I don't buy for liquidity because they're hard to move.
Yep.
You know, sometimes I have a big Golden Age book that I put out there, and it will take me 4 months to sell it.
Yeah.
That's not liquid, but it's valuable, it's scarce, it's got high demand, but it's not liquid. You know, if you have a UF4, that's much more liquid. Original art is not super liquid, but it's
you know the price of a UF4 though. You know what you're expecting to get on a UF4. You put an original piece to market, you hope to get X, but it could go low and it could go way high. I mean, original art,
some of it you know though.
No,
most
you
OA
don't know.
auctions though. Most OA is
most original art are going to auctions. There are, I mean, most original art that a lot of art dealers buy a ton of original art off of the artist directly. And then from there, some of it may go to auction if it's a key page, but a lot of the other pages, they're better off selling themselves without giving up those premiums.
But that a John Byrne Claremont X-Men page from their run, no matter how crappy it is, will bring in X.
No, you don't. Come on. I mean, no, you don't. You no, it won't be that way because you can get it for 600. I can tell you right now, you can get any. It does matter what's on the page. That's huge. There is none of that.
John Byrne Claremont X-Men.
I could get you a John Buscema Thor page for $700 if you want it.
But I'm talking about John Byrne.
Oh, I'm talking about something that's way, way, way harder to find. You know, I'm talking about something that wouldn't make any sense.
Or a Frank Miller Dark Knight page, no matter what.
Okay, a Frank Miller Dark Knight page. What's on the page? Is it a splash? Is it double? That all comes into every bit of detail goes into an original art.
But
page.
It'll at least be $1,000.
You could start it there, yeah, but you didn't. But you know, you'd hope to get a lot more than that for some of that. So, but it is what it is. I mean, there.
Yeah, you want to see some of the books I'm watching in the Heritage Signature auction?
Yeah, I'm gonna put you on the big screen.
All right, let me bring up my.
And I'll share when you're ready.
Yeah, let me bring up the window and then I'll share my screen.
Share, make me big real quick. I got something to show.
Okay.
This is cheap because I'm all about the cheap collectibles right now. But I got what I think is one of the landmark video games ever of all time, and it's called Final Fantasy. And this is the first one from Japan, released there, of course. And I thought it was a really nice box. Like, artwork looks awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And they called it Final Fantasy because they thought it was going to be their last game they made because they were pretty broke. And luckily for them, it worked. But I love these. I bought this one, and they're cheap, man. It's weird. I'm assuming because there's so many in Japan. But, real nice condition, really great artwork. This is for the NES, the original Nintendo Famicom there. But really cool artwork. And this was only like $70.
Nice. All right, I'm going to add this to the stream.
All right. Yeah. So this is just the stuff I'm watching. I'm not watching like, a Batman 1 necessarily, but I'll go back and look at what was the highest sold. But the stuff that I'm watching is sometimes stuff I might bid on, but usually stuff I'm interested in. So first one is this 9.8. I really want one of these, not necessarily 9.8, but I'm just curious people's for it.
Jesus.
I sold my 9 too.
15 to 18 days left. So this current bid on this is 40,800.
Man,
that's a nice copy, perfectly centered. I mean, it's just a really, really nice copy. It doesn't have an overwrap like you usually see on this book, too.
Yep.
Great book.
Yeah. Really,
and
really.
They slam that book pretty hard when you send it to them.
Yeah, so that's a nice one. This I want to own at some point. This is just a really nice copy. I expect this will go for like $8,000.
I used to think buying an X-Men 94 for more than $100. Like, you were lucky if you could find one for under 100.
Yeah.
Now you can't.
Yeah, I mean that book's starting to move, so that's why I want
$500.
That's a beautiful cat, man. Even. But this book is not as rare as one might think, but it's one of my favorite LB Coles.
It's very cool.
And I don't necessarily need to lay out money for a 6.0, but I want to see what it goes for. And maybe I'll bid on it if it goes, a little bit reasonable. But, if it's in the 6,000 range, I might go for it. But I feel like it'll be higher than that. It's a pretty nice copy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wrote that down as a 10K book.
Yeah.
For somebody else who asked me, where do I think it's going to go? I'm like 8 to 10.
Yeah, that's quite possible.
Especially if the guy who has like 12 of them wants to buy another one.
Yeah.
I did show that picture.
Beautiful sci-fi book that I like.
That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 7.0, but god damn, that thing looks like a 9.2.
That's a really nice copy.
Yeah, that's high grade for that book.
Yeah, so the current bid on that's 11,700, but it's easily going to go to 20.
Yeah, should be.
No doubt.
20 or more. Oh, man, look at that.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, this will probably go for like 15 to 20 just because it's a classic Spectre cover, and it's such a nice copy.
So nice.
Current bid is 9,600.
I'm so looking forward to the omnibus. We have a year to wait.
Hey, but wait a minute. Is that cheaper than the what is it? UF4 or whatever?
This one?
Yeah.
No, that's a $15,000.
This will go for like 15 to 20, I think.
Yeah,
that's a massive.
Right, but I thought the like super duper Miles Morales first appearances.
Oh, the Djurkovic cover?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean they're probably both about equal. They're probably both around 20. Crazy, right? I would rather have this because it's a work of art, but the other one.
Hell, I'd buy that new one.
Yeah, here we go. Pep 1. I just like the robot cover, but damn, 8.5 off white.
Wow.
First appearance of the Shield, but I like
nice that
the
is.
robot cover.
Look at that spine.
Yeah, that's really, really nice copy. Current bid is 8,100. This will probably go to 20, maybe a little less. It's a pretty big book.
Not as huge demand, but.
Yeah, but there's not much supply at all. I never see this book for sale.
I think it might depend on what other books are out there right now that they also have to buy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this one I really like, Science 2.
Yeah,
oh, that's great.
It looks like it had some color touch removed. You can see in the middle of the spine, almost looks straight up.
Which is fine by me. That means somebody put some work into that.
Yeah, I don't care. That's a nice copy. Current bid 4,900. I expect this will probably go to 10.
Yeah, at least.
I have one of these, obviously, but I always like to keep track of my investments, so I'm just watching this.
What's yours?
Huh?
What grade is yours?
I have a 4.0. 4.0, yeah, I have a 4.0. This is a nice 6.0.
Yours looks
Current
just as
bid
good as that.
4,600. I think this one probably will settle out around, I don't know, 85 to 10, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe 9, something like that.
Damn. I'd rather have this.
This is a good one, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Lou Fine, one of the best Lou Fine books, probably.
15K at least.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be over 10 grand for this book. And as far as 3.0s go, I mean, that's a bright 3.0. The reds on that, the yellow, the greens. I mean, this is a nice copy, man.
Damn good.
And it
Is
is
there any reason why it's a 3.0? Is like it missing something or anything notated?
I feel some
no,
books.
I think it. Shit, what did I do?
Some books, I think, will, if they're lower grade, they don't look as bad. Like a black cover, for instance. You get a bunch of creases in there, it just can look crappy, even if it's like a 6.0. Whereas something like this,
it's just got some wear on the spine and stuff. It
good.
might be detached at a staple or something, but it looks pretty good.
But you know what I mean? Some books look better in low grades than others.
Yeah, maybe. This is definitely a good looking low grade.
You don't agree?
Yeah, I just want to see what a nice big DC bronze goes
that
for.
Looks good.
Yeah, 9.8 white pages.
Damn.
Current bid is only 3,100 is the current bid. Now it's got a long way to go, but yeah, I mean, if you want to lay out a lot of money for a key and you want a good deal, this is the type of book you could look at as opposed to this Marvel stuff that's on fire. This book will go much cheaper than a comparable Marvel in 9.8.
When does this auction end?
2 weeks.
Mm.
Here's a GSX in 9.6. It's an old holder, off white to white. Current bid 10,500. You know, obviously it's going to go for 20 or 25.
Is that more than? Is that like double of a 994?
It maybe not. Yeah. It's getting that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people just love the book itself.
The cover's better.
Dave Cochran. Yeah.
Well, plus this is actual first appearances of stuff. The 94 is just the first team in title. This is the first appearance of several characters.
Yeah, that's true.
And Wolverine's on the cover.
Yeah.
Yep, it does make a difference.
This one was interesting because it's a 5.5 white pages, but it has a fair amount of metal chipping, which makes me think that if you're looking for a mid-grade of this book, this one might be, quote, affordable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Look at the centering on that beauty.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every Hulk one is centered.
You get the rocket, perfect rocket.
I usually see the red underneath the lettering is very usually bleached out. It's the
but
first.
This might be a little cheaper than you might expect for a 5.5 because of the chipping. There's a good amount of chipping on the side. I mean, it's still not going to be cheap though. It's already at 20 grand.
Yeah. Of course. The best, the most important modern book, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd just like to see what it goes for. 8.5. It's at 7,000.
That's still considered modern, or is that copper?
It's copper. I mean, it's 1984.
I still say it's the most important book from the 80s.
Yeah, it definitely is.
How much is it?
Right now, it's at 7,200, but it'll probably go close to, I don't know. I don't really know. 20? Is it a $20,000 book?
That grade?
Yeah, it probably is, right?
I think it's close, yeah.
This one, I sold my 4.0 a while ago. I want to get another copy at some point, so I'm just, maybe I'll bid on that. It's only at $1,260.
It's too bad that wasn't a black cover.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, it's off white to white. These Harveys never have off white to white pages. Always cream off white, so it's good page quality and it's a really solid looking copy. So yeah, I might bid on that. I don't know. I like that one a lot.
Great copy.
This is going to be cool. I might bid on this, but I don't. A couple came to market over the last year and went nuts. and I don't want to pay a nutty price for it. It's at $1,500 right now. I don't know. For this one, I would be in it probably for like. See, I probably won't get it, but I would do like between 2 and 25 for this probably, but I doubt it will. It'll probably be higher than that. I'm sure.
Yeah, that should be 3, I would guess.
Yeah, I mean, it probably sold for 4. I don't know.
That white part on the spine, right by the bow, is that a defect or is that just part of the cover?
No, it's a defect.
5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a defect.
5 minutes, honey.
I might buy this. I like this book, depending on where it lands. I just think this book has so much room to grow, and this is a 9.2 white pager. Man, that's beautiful. So current bid on that, $7,500. I don't know what it goes for. I'll have to look at GPA and stuff, but this will be a good investment book if anybody buys it.
The M.
Yeah, I know. The one I have is centered nice where the whole marble box is showing, but I wouldn't pass up a 9.2 white pager just because of that. All of them are like that anyway. Here's just another sort of keep up on the market type book.
Yeah.
Just see what it goes for.
Did you get one of those recently? I forgot.
Yeah, I did. I sold it.
Oh, wow. Good. Did you sell your FF1?
Oh, it's listed, but nobody's bought it yet. Yeah, I got it listed on my Instagram. I'm not taking off. A couple people hit me up and wanted to make an offer or do a trade, but I'm not doing any of that. I don't mind sitting on it for a while. I'm not in a hurry to get rid of it. So this is probably the one. This is the Silver Age key that's probably lagging behind the others the most. So I just want to see what it goes for.
I would say that will probably break. Let's see. 3s are selling at 2,500. So an 8 of that when there's very few 8s probably. It's going to be 15.
Yeah, something like that. And then I got some random stuff. Sometimes I just watch stuff for the hell of it. I have no intention of buying it. I'm not interested in the market, but I'm just like, I wonder what this will sell for. Factory case of Atari Asteroids. So I don't know. There's not even a bid yet. Here's Raiders of the Lost Ark factory seal case of 6.
Stay away from ET.
$126. What's this one? Yeah, Space Invaders. Here's cool. Space Invaders. I remember playing that. What's this one? Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, here's Dungeons and Dragons. Unopened box.
Not a case, but I got one.
No bids yet.
It's kind of weird how little the Atari and Intellivision, ColecoVision stuff goes for. It's like not like the other video game stuff at all.
Yeah. So of all these, if I had the money, I could buy any of them. The top one I'd probably go for would be this one.
Yep. I was going to say the Daring 7.0 is the one I've never seen in that grade.
Yeah, that would be my top
one that looks that good in that grade. I mean, that looks a lot better than a 7.0. That looks way better than a 7.0. But I was going to show that Wonder World again because of the grade being low, but really looks a lot better than, to me, a 3.0. I mean, maybe not a 5.0, but it's a better looking book than a 3.0.
Yeah, that's a nice copy. So let's see what's the highest priced ones. Oh, let's see here. So there's your highest priced item right now is the Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
It's $300,000.
Jesus.
Yeah, so video game tops the list. Above.
If you go down a little bit.
Batman 1.50. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think that's going to contend for that top price. But go down a little bit more. There's one I wanted to see. There was a Golden Age, but there it is. There was a Golden Age. Not the Batman.
Look at this. Dave Stevens' original cover art.
That's hard to find.
There's
Bill
two
Everett J #1 page.
Oh, Lobo. It's a nice cover.
There's a Game Boy is on the list up here. That's crazy. A Pokemon Game Boy.
Jeez,
Game.
43.
And there's the one I wanted to see. The one, yeah. Because that is one of the best books, too. The Doom storyline, 181, 182, 183. Huge.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I think from the art, but the one thing we talked about that is that may fall to the 75 to 100 range, but it really should be higher.
Well,
You see, loved drawing Doom. Loved drawing Doom. He didn't like drawing superheroes, but he loved drawing Doom.
This is back when the ash can meant there was only one or two of them.
Yeah.
I just can't get into these for some reason.
I mean, they're novelty items for sure.
People like them.
If you own it, you're the only one who owns it, really. You're never going to find anyone else who owns it. And then you get into the superhero stuff. Man, the X-Men 94, it's holding its own up there, huh?
Yeah.
Well, silver and gold. That's the highest. That's the highest priced bronze book right now, is that one.
What's the tech at?
Well, this one has a lot done to it. It's at 30,000.
Is it a Frankenstein or is it a
color touch, pieces added, tear seal,
Yeah,
sealed, clean.
I'm out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously it looks nice.
I'd pay 5,000.
Yeah, it's at 32.
How much is that cap?
The cap's only at 28.
Same.
This one is color touch, spine split, sealed, reinforced, clean.
Yeah.
White pages, though. Yeah, white pages. 28,000 is the current bid on that. There's a Jack Kirby and John Romita cover to a calendar from 1977.
Yeah, that okay. I have to explain that calendars, posters, original art very rarely sell for what they should. But anybody who buys it knows that keep that, save that. That's gonna go for a lot more later on down the road.
And it could go crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty.
There are people that go nuts for original poster art.
If that's what
original
they
poster
remember
art
having as a kid, they will pay anything for it.
The original poster art for Marvel's superheroes, there's a few of them from the 70s, are absolutely insane, especially the original Black Light stuff.
Oh, God. Super Mario 3. What's that Magic deck?
Magic the Gathering Alpha Edition, still sealed starter deck.
That's going to go for a lot more than that.
I wouldn't even know.
Probably 100 or more.
90 Jim 83. Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Another Batman 1.
Wow, there's a lot of Batmans.
Actually, is this one... What's missing on this? Back cover missing, front cover detached. Off-white pages. Not bad. I mean, that's just back cover missing. It presents pretty good.
Still almost 30,000.
Yeah, I know. More than I can afford to pay on a book like that. But
is that the Hulk you were looking at, or is that a different one?
Huh?
Was that the same Hulk?
No,
that's a different one. I was only watching the 5.5 because I feel like it could be a deal because of chipping.
Turtle Mania.
There's a good Jack Kirby page. Looks like there's some good Kirby dots on this. Yeah. So on the bottom here, it's got a nice Kirby dot panel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. You got the torch. You got Surfer. You got the Thing. Pretty good battle scene. I don't know. That's a pretty nice piece, I think.
That Surfer is a big one. Yeah. All right. We're gonna have to probably
close Dr. Strange there.
Yeah, that's the Kaluta cover.
Frank
Bruner cover. Oh, that's from number 4.
Oh, let me see that showcase. Keep going. Yeah.
8-0 off white to white.
That's
Wow.
going to go way higher.
That
That's
should
nice.
be higher up the list.
That should be a $30,000 book.
Oh, at least.
More
at
than
least.
that.
That'll
Yeah.
be way more.
I mean, that's one of my absolute you have to get.
That's like a high grade in that for that.
Especially the reds being so bright. I got to call my buddy on that one.
So there's a note on the label. It says S written on cover in grease pencil. Why would they put that on the note?
Because they're dick. Because it's an old label too. That's what they used to do.
Right here.
They used to do it. They used to write all sorts of shit on the old label. I have a Tomb of Dracula, very early one in a 994 that says, or 96 or 994, very early TOD, that it says on there in pencil written a 3, and the 3 is on the far left side. You could barely see it.
There's Cheetah, 17K.
Yeah, and it's a 9.2.
Yeah,
White
well,
page
good book to watch.
on the list.
That adventure comic's awesome.
Yeah, it's not bad. Adventure 40, pretty cool Sandman cover.
One of my favorites, 4042. Yeah,
I love it.
4042. Yeah, I can't afford that right now.
That should be 100K.
Well, next year maybe. Got too much in other things.
I can't believe Detective 33 is right next to.
Bring up that Red Raven. Bring up that Red Raven.
It's conserved. Yeah, this Red
Bring
Raven's
up that Red Raven. That is a good book.
Is that the Mile High?
Uh,
I think that might be the Mile High.
He's not selling that, is he?
Billy Wright. Billy Wright.
Oh, Billy.
Oh
Wright.
yeah, he used to bring that book to every.
Yeah,
con.
yeah, I remember.
He carried that to every con.
He still doesn't he still have it?
Yeah, it's definitely on display in his place because that's just such a great book.
Well,
I know it's not one of the most famous Golden Age books, but it's absolutely gorgeous. I would always wanted one of those.
Unopened Magic box. Another TMNT. Some more random, just regular stuff here.
Gil
can't
Kane.
believe there's those games next to all this.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, that stuff's hot, man. There's a Cap 2.
What about those sports cards? Like, if you looked at the top page of that, would it be way the hell numbers higher than this?
I don't know. Probably.
I have no clue. All right. Well.
Yeah. I mean, there's,
plenty.
It's all cool stuff, but I mean,
we'll keep an eye on this one for sure.
Pokemon, Bubble Bobble.
Here, this one.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's pedigree. Which pedigree is that?
Oakland.
Okay.
Oakland pedigree, 9/8 white pages. That's pretty nice.
Yeah. Oakland pedigrees have a good story behind them.
Yeah, maybe I'll buy that. I sold my 9.6.
Yeah, that's a good one. Pedigree. You don't want to pay the premium.
And then all the way down here, I really want to bid on this book, honestly.
Give it a run.
I will. I am going to bid on it. I just don't know how high it's going to go. But this is a good one too, man. That book's insanely hard to find.
That's something you want to play. You want to probably speculate with. So
that looks like a weird cut.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks all right.
Look at the bottom left corner.
I think it's in a bigger slab than you used to.
Just doesn't look centered.
Probably not centered in the slab.
Yeah. Well, Superman number 2.
Oh, look at this one. There's a Mile High.
Oh boy. Number 10?
12.
12. Okay.
Look at the colors on that, man.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, I mean, it's all cool stuff. I don't know. Something like this, I usually target 1 or 2 books, and I try to win one, and I never do.
Ooh.
What is this?
Tech 1.
Yeah, I know. It says spine of cover completely split and cover detached. First wrap and page 16 detached. Pages 17, 18, 21, and 22 missing.
Probably won't see another one for a year.
Yeah, I mean, you don't ever see it.
Yeah.
So it's 5,000 is the current bid.
It's one of the first ones I remember seeing. Ooh, what's that? Wait. Was that a Frazetta page?
I don't think so.
It looked.
Al Williamson.
Al
Yeah.
Williams.
Okay, so Frazetta might have helped him.
That's true. Good point.
Oh yeah, that's science.
Yeah, so a lot of cool stuff. I mean, it's all, and I'm not. There's 8 pages, so anyway, that's it.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. There's your whole thing.
Nice.
You're right. It is centered pretty well.
Yeah, well, let me buy that off you.
Yeah,
Nah,
do a trade.
I need a Hulk 1.
There you go.
I have all the key Marvels. It's a set. Buy the whole set.
Nice. There you go. All right, everybody. Want to thank everybody for joining us. Stay tuned. Coming up, we've got some important shows coming up, including our anniversary in 1 month from 4 weeks from today. So keep an eye out for that show. You'll hear some updates on that one. Keep an eye on our Instagrams. We'll be advertising that show. It'll be a fun one because we're going to have everybody on. So good to have everybody here. Thanks again. Have a happy and safe St. Patrick's Day. Thank you all for being a friend.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. And if you're through a party